Welcome to The Explainer. We're jumping right in today because we are breaking down an absolute masterclass in closing high-stakes deals. And the best part? We're doing it without ever having to resort to any of those sleazy, uncomfortable tricks. We're going to look at a system built over 30 years by entrepreneur Simon Squibb. This guy has sold products to pretty much every Fortune 500 company out there, often for tens of millions of dollars. He's basically formalized this 10-step plan to make literally any sale happen, and it is rooted entirely in authentic human connection. Look, whether you actually think of yourself as a salesperson or not, you are constantly selling, right? Your ideas, your personal brand, your work. So if you're ready to become a sales machine the right way, you are in exactly the right place. Let's get to it.
To make this as efficient as possible, we've distilled Squibb's 10-step plan down into 5 cohesive themes. Number 1, the truth about sales. Number 2, the 3-step sales system. 3, selling the sizzle. 4, leverage and brand partnerships. And finally, number 5, the emotional sale.
Kicking things off with Section 1, the truth about sales, and why it requires radical authenticity.
Now, Squibb's absolute foundational rule here is that we have to stop hiding behind the word marketing. A lot of people love calling it marketing just because it feels, a bit cooler or maybe a bit more comfortable. But at the end of the day, every business only survives because it sells something. And to really succeed, you've got to embrace a radically authentic mindset. There's a huge night and day contrast between non-ethical sales tricks and truly authentic sales. Squibb totally rejects what he calls the 99p rule, pricing things at $2.99 or $1.49 million just to subtly trick the buyer's brain. He also completely throws out all those online courses teaching NLP manipulation or artificial scarcity, like pretending a product is suddenly out of stock just to force a quick panic purchase. The quickest way up using tricks is absolutely the quickest way down. Instead, he pushes for brutal honesty. He actually shares this brilliant story about taking his wife to a mini garage to buy a BMW. The salesperson looked over their options and flat out told them, you probably should buy a Tesla. It sounds completely crazy for a BMW rep to recommend a rival car, right? But that total brutal honesty built immense trust. They happily left their contact info with her, knowing that if she ever does reach out, it's because she actually understands exactly what they need. This just brilliantly illustrates the power of authenticity. As Squibb himself puts it, I don't know how to convince you other than to tell you it's made me rich from being poor. And he learned this super early on. At just 15 years old, he was working part-time in a clothing shop. A customer tried on a suit, and even though the shop obviously wanted the sale, Squibb just told the guy the suit looked bad on him. It wasn't the right fit. Because of that brutal honesty, he secures lifelong trust and repeat business from that customer. So the really crucial takeaway here is that you must always over-deliver. And well, you can really only do that if you never over-promise in the first place. Squibb recommends breaking your pitch down into 2 very distinct categories: guarantees and hopes. He uses the example of PR companies. A bad PR firm is going to guarantee you front-page news worldwide just to secure your monthly fee, which is a flat-out lie. But a trustworthy PR firm, they come in and say, look, we guarantee a great press release. We guarantee excellent photos, and we guarantee a highly targeted mailing list, but we only hope they write about you. That level of honesty ensures you never ruin your personal brand, and it keeps your clients coming back forever.
All right, moving right along to Section 2, the 3-step sales system, or rethinking the process.
It's funny. Schools seem to purposely avoid teaching the actual mechanics of selling, but once you grasp it, it is incredibly liberating. Think about that total cliché question from The Wolf of Wall Street. If someone hands you a pen and says, "Sell me this pen," the classic rookie mistake is to immediately start rattling off the features. "Oh, look at this beautiful blue ink. The casing is so strong, it's a very prestigious brand." If you do that, you are starting at the very end of the process and missing the entire point of a sale.
So let's look at Squibb's actual 3 steps because they are brilliantly simple. Step 1, identify the need. The very first question you should honestly be asking is, do you even need a pen right now? If they don't, you are just wasting everybody's time. Step 2, build the relationship. You literally must actually like each other. If you sell to someone you dislike, your day-to-day life is going to become a total nightmare. But if you know they actually need a pen and you genuinely like each other, step 3, pitching the product, becomes completely effortless. Squibb notes that if you nail the first 2 steps, that 3rd step practically writes itself. It's basically an automatic guarantee. Sometimes the client will literally sit there and tell you exactly how to write up the contract.
But here's the thing. To execute those steps smoothly, you need structure. Sales is a system. You can't just rely on your memory. You've got to use CRM tools like Pipedrive to track your relationships over the long haul. Squibb actually tells this incredible story about trying to win Apple as a client. He didn't just pitch them once and give up. No, he spent 9 solid years contacting them every single month. He'd send Christmas presents, happy birthday notes, useful industry news, just staying on their radar. He built a system so that he would be standing right there exactly when their need finally aligned with his service.
That brings us perfectly into Section 3, selling the sizzle, focusing on outcomes over features.
So once you've got the relationship and the system totally dialed in, how do you actually present your product? Well, you have to shift your focus entirely away from what the product actually is and point it directly toward the emotional outcome it provides for the buyer. Basically, you want to sell the sizzle, not the steak. When you sell the steak, you're talking about things like Intel processors or, in the case of Squibb's former marketing agency, Fluid, things like SEO optimization and email campaigns. And let's be real, nobody actually cares about that stuff. You need to sell the sizzle, the feeling. Apple doesn't sell processors. They sell the feeling of being wildly creative and successful. Haagen-Dazs doesn't sell dairy ingredients. They sell love, indulgence, and romance. With Squibb's agency, they didn't go in selling SEO stats. They sold the ultimate outcome of saving a business and making sure real people didn't lose their jobs.
Now, a massive part of selling the sizzle authentically is finding your own natural groove. We really need to bust the myth right here and now that only loud, outgoing extroverts can be good at sales. Squibb actually advises that introverts can absolutely dominate the sales floor. If you prefer quiet communication, lean into that. Write blogs on LinkedIn, share your specialty online, and let your deep knowledge attract buyers to you naturally. Plus, you need to train your entire ecosystem to sell for you. Explain your product with real excitement to your colleagues, your clients, heck, even your mom and dad. When they understand the sizzle, they automatically become your absolute best salespeople.
And this perfectly leads into one of Squibb's absolute best anecdotes. The absolute best salesperson at his multi-million-dollar marketing agency wasn't some slick talker. It was actually his introverted accountant. She definitely wasn't cold calling people. She was literally just having lunch with other CFOs. Because she genuinely believed in the company's mission to save businesses, she just passionately shared those outcomes over her lunch breaks. Those CFOs would then go back to their CEOs, and suddenly the agency was getting massive inbound leads. She was just authentically sharing what she believed in, and it worked like magic.
All right, let's jump to Section 4, leverage and brand partnerships and multiplying your reach.
This section is all about how you actually scale your sales efforts when nobody even knows who you are yet. Squibb's concept of leverage involves doing initial, sometimes free or highly discounted work for a major respected brand so you can use their heavyweight reputation to open doors everywhere else. Like 10 years ago, Squibb's company did a free piece of work for CNN. Because they massively over-delivered and did a stellar job, he could then pick up the phone, call other massive companies and simply say, "Hi, I'm working with CNN. Can we talk?" That leverage immediately completely dissolved the gatekeeper's resistance. It's essentially a fast-track investment in your own reputation.
And Squibb's whole philosophy on brand partnerships really boils down to this totally impossible math equation on the screen. 1 + 1 = 11. When you align your brand with another company that shares your core values, you don't just add your resources together. You create this massive exponential value and lift each other up way higher than you could alone.
You can actually see this happening at absolutely every scale. Think about how McDonald's sponsors the Olympics to leverage that highly aspirational, community-driven brand identity. Squibb himself talked about partnering his own brand with the water company Liquid Death, pulling their resources together without spending a dime, purely because their messages align so perfectly. But hey, it works locally too. A local carpenter could go down to their town's football club and fix all their wooden billboards for free in exchange for advertising space. You align your values with theirs, and absolutely everybody wins.
And finally, Section 5, the emotional sale, or selling a mission.
Squibb calls this the highest, most delicate tier of selling, and it comes with a very strict warning. This only works if you are fiercely, unequivocally genuine. If you try to fake an emotional connection, it will completely destroy your personal brand forever. But when it works, it's incredible. When Squibb released his book, What's Your Dream?, it hit the #1 rank on Amazon in pre-sales with absolutely 0 reviews. Nobody had even read it yet. So how on earth did he pull that off? Purely through the emotional sale.
He didn't go out and sell the features of the book. In fact, he literally told his audience not to buy the book for the knowledge, mostly because all of his knowledge is already available for free on his YouTube channel anyway. Instead, he asked them to buy the book to support a mission. He was selling his philosophy of give without take. Thousands of people bought it because they deeply believed in that mission. It's the exact same emotional sale Elon Musk uses when he positions buying a Tesla not just as buying a car, but as a mission to save the planet from terrible petrol companies.
Or, if you're a fan of the show Mad Men, it's that raw vulnerability in Don Draper's famous Kodak carousel pitch, where he sells the pain and the love of nostalgia rather than just pitching a piece of plastic machinery. The emotional sale is really about showing up, being vulnerable, and proving that your why is so much bigger than yourself.
Which leaves us with one final, pretty provocative question for you. What is the out-of-the-box madness in your sales pitch? Squib insists that you absolutely have to build a little bit of madness into your sales process just to be memorable. He shares this hilarious story of a dishwasher company realizing that if a customer just buys 2 dishwashers, they literally never need to put plates in a cupboard ever again. You just cycle your dishes between the clean and dirty machines. It's brilliant. Or take Squib himself, who literally bought a 5-story glass staircase in Twickenham, installed a doorbell at the bottom, and told people to ring it and pitch their dreams to his millions of followers. I mean, it's total madness, but it is completely unforgettable. So what's your madness going to be? Figure out your authentic truth, build your system, sell the sizzle, and inject a little madness into your mission. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and I'll catch you on the next one.